And welcome to our first podcast that doesn't have a name yet. I'm Mo, and that's Powwow.
What's up, guys?
All right, so what we're going to start with is basically read an article on how to make a podcast so that we kind of know what we're doing.
Because we don't.
All right, so the first thing we have here is it says we got to be ready to commit. I think that just basically means knowing what we're doing and when we're doing it. So I think we've decided we will record on Sundays.
Sundays after the Lions play.
More maybe before, depending on when the Lions play. And then we're going to shoot for an hour. We'll see what happens there. All right, so it says what we'll need microphones.
Got one.
We have 2 microphones, so I think we're good there. We have pop filters, so hopefully it doesn't sound too shitty. We'll need a computer. Also have one of those. I have a few, actually, if we need it. And then we have Adobe Audition, which will be our software we'll use. All right, so their actual first step is something that we are going to totally ignore. It says to narrow your topic, find your niche or niche, if you're not from France.
So it's a niche?
I believe in America you say niche.
Because that's what I say. I say niche.
But a lot of people say niche.
It's not American.
Exactly. Fucking freedom fries. All right, so we're going to just try to do everything, which is probably not going to work and no one will listen, but I think it'll be smart. So I think we'll try to cover TV shows, video games, current events, politics, because we both just love reading about Trump.
Make America great again. Whoop, whoop.
He's native, so I guess we should throw that out there so
Just
people don't think
bit.
you're a white supremacist. And we'll just basically cover anything we want. All right. Skip some of these steps. We already know how to mess with some audio. All right, so we need to find some theme music. We do have the little 15 seconds of audio we played at the beginning here. We'll probably just do new ones every week until we find one that's just super dope.
We should just do an intro of each one of your songs, because there's like 200 plus of them.
Yeah, that could work. We'll see. Because I also yell the name of the mixtape at the beginning. So
Quite often.
See how that works. This thing says add podcast chapters. I listen to a bunch of podcasts. No podcast I listen to has chapters. So that's something I'm probably going to ignore. All right. So the big one. We need to pick a name. And then we'll create cover art for our podcast, which I'll try to work on this week. But first, we do need a name. So do you have any good ideas?
So I have a couple not good ideas.
All right.
So the first one actually came when I was at Walmart. A&W.
Like the root beer?
Like the root beer.
And we could even have root beer themed podcast.
Exactly. Aaron and Wall.
Yeah, but see, that's my first name, your last name.
That's
so it's
true.
It
goes different, yeah. You could do...
See, I thought of Powwow with Mo. Because they'll think I'm just hosting something called the Powwow or something like that. But your name, we call you Powwow and call me Mo. So
that's true. I like that.
I think that one could be an option. Right now, the one in the running for me is the Almost Good podcast. Because I feel like we won't be good, but we'll be close.
Almost good.
Yeah, we'll be close to it.
Kind of like the Lions.
Dude, the Lions might make the playoffs and win
They
the
should
game.
be 4-0 currently, sir.
They might win their second playoff game in the history of their franchise or whatever it is.
Yeah, we've only won a national championship when it was 1950-something before the AFL and NFL merger. Not that long ago, but, you know.
Well, my team's never won anything, so... All right, so some examples they have here. The Big Podcast with Shaq is pretty on point for his brand because he's a large individual. And then they have, the so-and-so reports, Sounds of the Trail I've never heard of at all. So I think our 2 at the moment we're really thinking about is Powwow with Mo because it's literal, but it sounds like it's...
I still like that one now.
Or the Almost Good podcast. So I'm one of those. We'll know once we upload this and see. And then if we go with Powwow with Mo, we might just have to record a song for our theme song.
We'll have to have a mixture.
Yeah.
Because we got to have some native
Lots
music
of,
in there.
native screaming, or I guess it's singing, but
it's a mixture of both. It kind of depends on what tribe's singing.
And then I have some experience making mixtape covers, so I feel like I can make something for our thumbnail here.
I've taken a picture of it. That's about it.
You have done that. Here's some things we'll have to look over later as far as the formatting we'll do for that. All right, something else that'll be kind of a big deal is finding a place to host the podcast. It's not anything I've ever thought about until we pulled up this article. Now, SoundCloud has free podcast hosting, and you can also pay to get a premium membership. I believe the free one will limit us to how many minutes of content we can have. I know I upload some music there, and it tells me I have so many minutes left until I'm out. So we will just see.
We made it just go with premium running on Indian time. I doubt we keep it at the minimum requirement.
Right. Well, I think it's not per episode. It's going to be total how many minutes. So if we do an hour and then another hour, that's 120 minutes worth. Even if they're two separate.
Okay.
So we would run out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Some other ones they have here is Podbean. Looks like it's also free with a premium version. Podomatic, same thing. Libsyn. No
sounds
idea.
Foreign.
It looks like that one's only $5 a month, so that's might be a good option. We'll look. Amazon has a podcast hosting service, and they are ruling the world these days, so that could be decent. And then Fireside, never heard of that either, but it looks like they will also. You pay per episode.
Yeah, fuck them. Nope.
Yeah, we're cheap around here.
That's right. We got 2 corn bushels and a beaver pelt to work with, and that's about it.
All right, so we will look into that. If we get it figured out, then you might hear this podcast, I would assume. All right, getting our podcast on iTunes. That will be the most important thing, apparently, according to everyone. The name pod is in podcast, and I'm sure it all started on iPods, and probably what we're going to need to do. We'll have to check our title, Powwow with Mo, or the Almost Good podcast, is make sure it's not taken. I feel like both will be open.
Agreed.
And we can look at these specs here to make sure. And then this talks about us seeing an RSS feed. I have no idea how to do that. From a little bit of research I've done, we would have to keep a computer online all the time for people to connect to, or like a server. That is something else we'll have to figure out before we can get this on iTunes. All right. This, I guess, is a step-by-step instructions for it, so we'll just do that after we have recorded this.
Yeah, how to do a podcast for dummies. That's all we need.
All right, and then something else that'll be really important is we'll need people to listen. So
yeah, that's gonna be pretty important.
So something we may have to do is make a Twitter, which I've been against since the inception of Twitter.
Because only the real can follow you.
Exactly.
I get it.
So we might have to make a Twitter, maybe an email address specifically for the podcast, because nothing would make this easier than having people just write us questions or topics, and then we have to do less work and then just respond. So those are all some social media things we would like to look into. All right, so on this other side, on Buzzsprout, which is a podcast hosting site, so all their things may be legit, or maybe they're just trying to sell you on signing up for their services. Looks like their big thing is to be polite, not to talk over one another. I think with just us two, that'll be fine. If we bring in some other people, might have to talk over people being dumb.
I think we should just make that a rule. If they're being dumb, we should just cut them off and continue to talk.
Definitely do that. I know we have one idea currently. We know this guy named Dom, who's a big nerd and loves Magic cards.
Huge nerd.
I have no idea how to play Magic. I don't think you do either. So
I have no
idea. It would
idea.
be pretty fun to have him over to try to explain it to us.
Still find it strange that an army black guy is huge into Magic the Gathering. Maybe that's slightly
Totally
racist.
Totally racist.
But it's okay.
I don't know if making an assumption about someone because of their race is necessarily racist, but we'll do some research on what makes you a racist.
I think if I say anything about any race, it's now considered racist with all the snowflakes.
Yeah, very true. All right. Let's see, optimizing our audio file for podcast distribution. Way too much for us to think about at the moment. So we'll come back to that. So this thing is saying we need a podcast host. I don't know if the whole SoundCloud things, I'm assuming that's all the same thing. But here it's basically saying we would need bandwidth. I think we have the same internet package. We have 500 gigabytes of a month that we get to use. I'm not sure if that's enough or not for these things. So I haven't really looked into it.
I think it depends how many people decide to listen to us.
Right. I think the bigger the audience, more we'll need all of that. And I'm assuming we're just going to be fucking huge. So we're going to definitely need to figure something out. And then this RSS feed, we'll need to figure out embedding our podcast on other websites. That's something we don't have. We don't have a website. Neither one of us blog or anything like that. I don't know if we need to. Maybe that's the key to all this is we'll get to be known on the internet. And then we need to share it. So me currently at the moment, I have no social media. I have no Facebook, no anything at all. So it's going to fall on you to, if we get this uploaded, to make sure people listen to it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. And then I guess you can look at, if we sign up for this Buzzsprout place, they can give us analytics, how many people listen to us, what countries they're in, all these different things. So that really might be something cool. I would love to have 4% of our population in Africa. That just seems, even though this all says Asia, notice that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's because Asian people are everywhere.
Right. And again, on this one, it's saying that iTunes is the king of podcast directories. So iTunes seems to be amazingly important.
It doesn't look like we'll be under that Church Mag podcast, though.
What? You don't love church?
That's a whole other discussion we'll have later.
Yeah. For real, because I know you like to talk about native spirits. So
yeah,
we'll have to get into
it. We're going to have to get into that.
A Stitcher I have definitely heard of. I don't use it currently, but apparently we can upload podcasts there as well. I think they're the new big thing coming up after iTunes where people can find your podcast. I believe you can also get them on Spotify, which people have on their PlayStation 4s. So maybe that's a way to get in there. Because I'm sure we will have some video game discussions coming up. And then again, just how to embed things.
A lot of social media presence is what it looks like.
Right. So I think we have the basic gist of it. We're going to do a lot of research after the podcast to see what all it's going to take to get there. But I figured we would start there just to show you how naive and unprepared we are to make a podcast. But we want to, or else we wouldn't be recording it.
Yeah, just shooting from the hip, learning from the president.
Yeah, if you want to be president, you got to run first. That's what I learned in the
Good
last year.
catchphrase, a cheap hat, and you're good to go.
It says "Make America Great Again" and "Made in China" on the back.
That's right.
All right, so the first thing I wanted to show you, because me and you both loved Red Dead Redemption. I think in general I probably love video games more than you, but this is the one time you loved a game probably more than I did. You loved Red Dead Redemption 1. So, and you haven't seen this trailer. I've turned the audio down here so it's not picked up too badly on the mics, but I thought you would definitely want to watch this. And we can cut out all this if we needed.
So this is a prequel, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a prequel, which makes sense because it's about industrial movement about to take over the West, so it wouldn't make sense to go afterwards. Did you see that dude's face?
I did. This is pretty clean.
We got lawmen in 3 different states after us. They chased us from the west. They chased us over the mountains.
Had an Indian?
So yeah, one Indian guy, very similar haircut.
Yeah, y'all have almost the same hair.
Holy shit, that chick just stabbed him in the hand.
I will say the roping the horse looked not near as good as the rest of the trailer.
They should have kept that one out. That guy looks like Swear Engine.
Well, the guy you said looks like Swear Engine is actually another dude off Deadwood, I believe. The one that owned the other bar or whatever, the other casino type thing. Because it sounded like his voice and kind of looked like him. So, anyway. Are you going to buy Red Dead Redemption 2? I know you haven't bought a video game in a while, but if there was a game to buy, I feel like you would buy that one.
That's probably the one I'll have to buy next. I haven't bought a game, I don't think, since Far Cry 4. I think was the last one that I've actually purchased.
You've gotten games since then.
I've gotten games, but I haven't actually went out and purchased a game day one since then.
Right. Yeah, so I think it's going to be super cool. Me personally, my favorite part of Red Dead Redemption 1 was just the hunting.
Yeah.
Not the story modes, but just going
Just
around,
going out hunting.
shooting snakes, birds out of the
Rabbits,
sky,
yep.
skunks, all that stuff. So I feel like that'll probably be my favorite thing on this one as well. And like I said, it looks like they're going to have multiple characters because you're part of the gang that John Marston was in. I believe that guy's the leader, maybe he's not the leader, maybe he's just a dude, but it looks like you're not necessarily a good guy.
No, yeah.
Whereas in the original game, you were definitely...
You were still the good guy for sure.
You were a bad guy, became good. It looks like here you're robbing banks, and...
You could still be a good guy.
Maybe. I mean,
Robbing
it's
the
probably
rich to
like
feed the
Grand
poor.
Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I mean, same people make it and all that, so maybe there's going to be like, well, we're going to show you the criminal element, and maybe at certain times you'll be making a good call, or bad. Maybe they let you choose.
That may be the storyline, depends if you want to make a good or a bad call. And
Which I know Rockstar doesn't normally do it that way, but it could be something new for them. All right, so another topic that we're going to try to bring up every week if possible is we have a friend, an old fraternity brother of ours named LV.
shout out Chocolate.
We can just... His name's Jeremy Lavorchek. He told me in a letter we could totally say his name if you would like to Google him to see all of his charges. Because it is quite a list, I'll give a
I hope we got a big bandwidth because that's a long list to download.
I can give you a brief history. So, like I said, we were in a fraternity together. Had kind of a lot of fun back in the day. He was probably the best athlete I've met in person, besides like actual professional athletes.
Yeah.
He had like better combine stats than Adrian Peterson coming out of high school. My high school played his high school, and he was just amazing. And played running back. He's the darkest guy I've probably ever met as well. He's very dark. But he was just a beast. I met him in Calculus 1, actually in Trigonometry College. We became friends when we were in Calc 1. He decided he would rather be some sort of drug kingpin than be a athlete or student. Also probably the smartest athlete I ever met. He was brilliant.
Especially when it comes to politics.
Right. He was good at politics, history, math. I mean, he just very interesting mind. He was curious, all that stuff. But back in the day, he liked to sell some weed. Not a big deal.
Straight out of his backpack.
Walk across campus, I have weed in my backpack. Who wants it? He just assumed people that wouldn't take him serious unless they wanted some. So that was his strategy behind it. It led to, eventually he went to the Air Force with another fraternity brother of ours. When he came back from the Air Force, he used his training to rob, was it 8 pharmacies across the state of Oklahoma?
8.
And
then went back and drove by them after he robbed them.
Right, to watch the cops. That was all part of the rush. According to him, the alarms never went off when he was in them. He set the alarms off as he left, which when he told me that seemed like the dumbest thing, but he never got caught in the act. So it seemed to work out for him. What happened was he was at a party in Norman, Oklahoma. Some girl was drinking and driving. He was in the car with her. They got pulled over, looked in the back seat. They saw his backpack full of pill bottles. They noticed that the pharmacies on the pill bottles were pharmacies that had been robbed. So they looked into it, arrested him right then, and then he was in jail for a couple years after that, as far as them keeping him until his court date. When his court date came, again, he robbed 8 pharmacies. He was only given 1 year of prison time in a federal prison because he had such good grades. He was a smart kid, all of that. They really went lenient on him, given the circumstance. I know people who've been arrested for pod that got more that were black like he was. So, I mean...
He got off pretty well.
He got off pretty easy there. Did his year. He would write, call, things like that. I think it was in Texarkana, was the prison he was in at the time. Got to take a guitar class.
Because, of course, that's what you need.
He was real excited about that. Me and you, I think, were the first people to see him after he got out of prison.
He came right over to your apartment.
Right. Well, we went and picked him up at his foster parents' house.
That's right. Because
he had a big beard.
And he wouldn't let us see him until after he shaved.
Yeah. He locked himself in the bathroom. We knew he was going to be a criminal after that. There was zero remorse or regret of being arrested. I mentioned he had foster parents. They were like 2 really nice old white people who bought him, what are those cars?
Nissan 350Z for his freshman year in college.
Right, and they stuck by him even after him being in jail for a year, which was really shocking at the time.
Agreed.
So it was kind of odd that he was just like, I'm out, let's go break some more laws. But that's totally just kind of where his mind went.
I think he was more upset that he got caught than he was about the actual act.
Right, exactly. And then I want to say the second time, did he go back to jail just because he missed his parole?
No, I think it's because he violated it whenever he went out of... Because remember, he went out of state.
Right, well, I know he ran away to try to go to Mexico, but that was after they had put a warrant out for him. I'm trying to remember what the warrant was for.
It may have just missed a court date, but remember, he was...
Because he had a job with some box place where he made boxes.
Yeah.
And then he said a guy stole his wallet. He got in a fight with the guy, and then they fired him. And then because he didn't have a job, he just wasn't going to see his parole officer.
Yep. And I remember he said he was going to wear his... Because it was Air National Guard is what he joined. He was going to wear that down and get across Mexico to be able to get the drugs he needed.
Right. And so he told us that plan. I was going home on Thanksgiving. So I was on the road. I got a voicemail. I picked up my phone. It was from Laredo prison. So I guess he got caught trying to cross the border or coming back, something to that extent.
If he would have just went at night, he would have been fine.
Right. And then he stays in Laredo for maybe 6 months to a year, gets out. We talked to him briefly, and then he tells me he's going to hitch a ride on this charter bus with some people that were going around selling insurance, and it was a big scam, but he was going to scam the scammers and become their leader.
Because he figured it out.
Because he figured out their
That's
system.
right.
And then the next we hear is another friend of ours named Sideshow sends me a message on Facebook about LV getting arrested in California, and then was in jail, I guess, for 12 months before that. And then he was trying to going to appeals court because he said they were overly harsh on his sentencing because he got like 2 years on something that most people get 1 year on. The judge in that states that, well, he's never visited a parole officer. He never shows remorse. He obviously wants to keep being a criminal. So they were upholding all of that.
He got off easy the first time. It's going to come back around.
Right. So this isn't even close to the worst thing he's done so far.
Not at all.
He gets out of jail there. I was actually ready for it. I knew when the time was. So this last time he got out of jail, he calls me. He was very excited because his birthday is on February 29th. And in 2016, that was going to happen. So he was going to be turning 6 years old or 7 or whatever it was, right? I guess 7. And he was like, oh, we're going to throw this big party. We're going to go to a strip club. And, you know, I'm finally clean. I'm not doing drugs. I'm not selling drugs. I'm just going to get a normal job and live the straight life. And everyone was all for it. The next day after that, he goes, I'm trying to remember the town. Was it McAllister, Pauls Valley?
I think it was McAllister.
He, in broad daylight, him and this little
High
white
noon.
dude, at noon, they go into a pharmacy, broad daylight, with an AK-47. They lock the doors. They zip tie the employees' hands behind their backs, and they rob them for their pills. Again, LV's a very dark person. Small towns in Oklahoma don't have many of those, so he kind of sticks out a little bit. So everything else from what he's kind of told me, because I mean we read about him doing that part. They get in the car, they take off, they make it to the interstate, I-35, which is a good distance away.
It is.
And then eventually someone sees them he hides under a truck, gets out on foot, runs, he hides under a truck. The cops go by him, so he thinks he's off scot-free, and he looks over, and there's an old man looking at him from his porch, grabbing the phone, and LV wanted to kill. In his letter, he's like, I was going to kill that person. But again, that's totally fine, because to him, life's just a giant game, and nothing seems to be real with consequences.
Because, you kill someone, they can come back. This is definitely a video game.
Right. So eventually the cops do find him and his friend. They go to jail. He gets 24 and a half years because it was like attempted murder. Oh, he also stole a car with the gun.
Yep.
Now, in his letter to me, he claims it was a toy gun and it wasn't real. But in everything I've ever read,
including the news articles,
it was a real gun. So, who knows? Who knows there? I'm going to believe the police reports.
Especially at this point. I mean,
Right.
we could give them the benefit of the doubt for a while, but
Right.
you get arrested 4, 5, 6 times. It's you lose all credibility at that point.
Exactly. So, him and his friend, everything else, when we heard a little bit about this in the news article, but this is all from in his letters to me. Him and his friend are being held in Paul's Valley, maybe? Is the place they were holding him till?
I don't remember where he was.
They're
held
holding him
at.
somewhere. It might have been McAllister again. I'm not real sure. But his friend is a little white guy, according to him, who started a prison guard who was a female. And this female stayed with them overnight, and so they got to know each other. According to LV, every night this dude would get let out of his cell, go to the front office with this woman and have sex with her, and really just had her wrapped around his finger, even though he was an inmate and she was a prison guard. So,
Dude's got game.
right. At some point of time, whether LV or his friend makes a shank, I can pull out the letters and find exactly how it went, and I may eventually. And then LV has this shank, and the next time that woman opens his cell, he holds it to her throat and then forces the other guard to let him and the white dude out, or else he's going to kill her. Now, he's a little crazy, so I'm sure they believed him. He's very dangerous. He says he threw him into the cell but didn't lock it, which is dumb if you're trying to escape from jail. Like, if you're going to do it the best
If
way
you're going to
possible.
commit, you might as well go all the way.
Right. So him and his friend escape jail. They get into a van or a car, a prison issued one. They take off on the run. They made it. This is actually the part where he says he made it to I-35. At that point, he passed a cop car that was off duty. And I guess that guy got the radio call around that point of time, noticed the people in the car, call it in. He said in all of this, all he got was to smoke 3 cigarettes and a police chase. That's what he got out of escaping from jail. He thought in his mind he would at least be free for a week to go have fun, but it was like an hour or two.
I guess it's his last hurrah before he turns 50 when he's going to get released from prison.
It's going to be longer
Because
now.
at 24 and a half years or whatever
That
it
was before he
Yeah.
escaped from jail.
And that was with no parole.
Right.
Because he was going to get that straight. And then he decides to escape.
Right.
So I mean, we were maybe hoping to expect him in our 50s.
We'll see. We will. I don't think he ever gets out. I think he's like one of those people that he needs jail now to tell him what to do. Like, he likes he's a schedule, and this is when he eats, and this is when he does whatever. I just don't think he'll ever make it in the real world, at least from evidence so far.
That's for sure.
He said the most exciting part about him as running from the police is he got where they throw out the tire, the thing, the nails that you run over.
The spike strip.
Right. So that is how they caught him. They threw down the spike strip. He hit that, wrecked, picked him up, took him back, and now he is in jail.
Should have just ran. He's as fast as a bloody car.
He's very fast. We'll get into more of LV in the future. Like I said, I get a letter every week or two. I just got onto this free jail mail website where you can send emails with him. So on Saturdays, he's sending me messages now. He's in love with a new pen pal he has. It's his new cellmate's baby's mama's mama. So his cellmate's kid's grandmother. And
Sounds like a Hallmark story.
she's a meth head, according to him, but he's in love with her. And this has been a week since the last one when she was looking for someone to pen pal, so I know it hasn't been that long. But we'll definitely try to give updates on LV. I think that'll be a staple of our podcast for sure.
For sure. We can't forget about the C and PWC.
Yeah, peanut butter, whipped cream, chocolate. That was our rap group. It was pretty dope. All right, we've made it just about 30 minutes, which is I'm impressed of this.
Pretty impressive, actually.
So we're going to take a quick intermission, smoke cigarettes, get a drink, all that stuff, and then we'll be back. And we're back. And I think we have decided that we're going to do the Powwow with Mo podcast. It's going to be the name of it. So look out for that. All right, pal, what do you want to bring up?
So I want to talk about the NFL. We can talk about the protest and the kneeling here in just a little bit, but I want to talk about today a little bit of the scores and the teams and how they're doing this year. So, obviously, I want to talk about the Lions first.
All right, so as a backstory, your family's from Michigan, and you love every Detroit team. I would say lately you probably like the Thunder a little more than the Pistons.
For sure.
But in general, if there's something Detroit, you love that.
Yeah, just going for them, whether they win or lose. Obviously, the Red Wings are the talk of the town there. Anyway, so Lions this year are 3-1. They should be 4-0. Let's just be honest. The bullshit rule of running 10 seconds off if it's within the last 2 minutes of the game and you don't have a fucking timeout.
Well, did you even know that was a rule before last week?
No, fuck no, I didn't. No one did. That's bullshit.
It is. Well, I think 10 seconds is a lot because if you look at that one, they clearly could have got up there and spiked the ball. That's the only thing. That's the only thing to it.
Or Matt Stafford could even did what he did against Cowboys a few years ago. Do a fake spike, jump over, and get a touchdown to win the game. They were going to win the game against the Falcons.
Right.
And in my opinion, not this week, obviously, but the Falcons were showing that they were one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL. I mean, their offensive weapons are ridiculous. You got Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Devontae Freeman, obviously Matty Ice is your
And their
quarterback.
defense is good.
They are.
So.
And that's without Vic Beasley.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, obviously losing Calvin Johnson a few years ago has hurt us. We've never really got back on it. Yet we get this rookie, Kevin Galladay, has been doing great. He was obviously injured today, couldn't play.
What do you think the chances are that Calvin Johnson comes back this season? Since they're good.
I think since the whole thing came out of him having to pay back part of a signing bonus, I don't think he'll ever come back to the Lions.
Right.
I think he's way too salty for it. The only way they could is if the Lions happen to win the Super Bowl this year, he may want to come back, but I doubt that would even work. I mean, his contract, he would have a $20 million a year contract. They just signed Matt Stafford to the highest deal in NFL history. There's no way they could pay both of those.
Which looked really dumb, but now it's looking okay.
But it looks okay. I mean, let's just be honest. He's now at 100 consecutive starts, fourth most in the league. I mean, it's great. Matt Stafford is the staple to that team, and I think he will be for years to come.
And are we currently in week 4 or 5?
Week 4.
We're in week 4?
We're in week 4.
Okay.
So some people are still in week 3 if you're the Bucks or the Dolphins not being able to
Well,
play.
they're by just week 1, but they're still in week 4.
They're still in week 4.
I was just making sure these standings I pulled up here are accurate.
Yeah, those are the newest standings. I know with the Rams being atop the West at 3-1, and that's pretty that's pretty disappointing, especially for the Cardinals and Seahawks. But the Lions, I have said it for 2 years now that Aaron Rodgers is going downhill.
I mean, I've always hated the Packers. Like, for whatever, I just don't like any teams that are like always good. And so growing up, the Packers were always good. So therefore, I didn't have anything against them. I just didn't want to cheer for a team like that.
For sure.
But I think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I hate him, and that's why I hate him is because he's that dang good, and he's in the NFC North. The only reason I slightly liked the Packers was because in 2014 or 13, they were selling part of their stock with the Green Bay Packers because they are the only publicly owned team in the league, and they were selling for $200 a share. I was broke as can be back then, so there was zero chance I was going to purchase them.
Right.
But the Lions this year, they've been playing great. They are obviously a 3-1. Now they are 1-0 in the division, leading the division this year. But
so they're technically, I was just checking, there's one team currently, because their game hasn't played yet today, that is undefeated, and that's the Chiefs.
Correct.
I feel like, and I don't have the stats to back me up, normally by week 4, there's a few undefeated teams.
Yeah,
so
last
like
year
the
I think
NFL
we had 3.
this year has definitely been more interesting as far as games.
It has, and I mean, with Matt Stafford and the Lions this year, I think the biggest takeaway is that he has been passing around to almost every single receiver every game. He does not have a big name receiver. You can say Golden Tate's a big name, but he's still 5'8".
Yeah, I will never like Golden Tate because remember when the NFL had the replacement refs
And the game with the Packers.
and he was on the
remember
Seahawks.
that. I do.
And he did the no, I caught it. Now I'm not saying that wasn't a good move, but watching you are like, you're such a bullshitter.
For sure.
That it's hard to ever be like, he's real good.
I mean, That was the game where the one ref called it an incomplete pass and the other one called it a touchdown in the same picture frame.
Yeah.
So it was terrible. But I think that Matt Stafford has a legit chance because of their defense. They have had 8 takeaways this year in the first 4 games.
Well, and I would say he has a good chance of being the MVP, at least right now, because he doesn't have any giant names on offense.
He doesn't. And he's still getting 200-plus yards every game. I mean, he is still finding a way to win. I mean, he didn't have to have fourth-quarter comebacks this year like he did last year. He had 8 of them, which was all of their wins literally came from come-behind wins. You cannot sustain that in the postseason to be able to win, obviously, with them losing on Wild Card Weekend, just like they have been, if they even get there.
All right, so just since we have these standings pulled up, who do you think will win the NFC North?
I do think it's going to come down to the Lions and Packers. In my opinion, if the Lions can keep healthy with their middle linebacker of Gerard Davis,
I mean, their defense,
been out.
I would say, is better than the Packers' defense.
For
they
sure.
got that going for them.
But it depends on if Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson click. If those two click, it's hard to beat them at all. Right. I mean, Jordy Nelson's fast. He can get on the out routes. That's going to be the toughest. I do think those two are a toss-up. It's hard for me to say. I couldn't say one way or the other. Obviously, I'm rooting for the Lions to win.
So if you had to pick today, you're just going to pick the Lions, basically, because that'll...
Exactly. But, I mean, those two, I think, in my mind, are toss-ups.
All right, so let's go through the other division. So NFC South, who do you think would be winning that one?
I think with the way Cam Newton came out today with his 4 touchdowns, I think he may be back on track because we have to remember, he didn't at all play during preseason.
See, I feel like that's somewhat of an overreaction.
And it may be because of today's game.
Right? Because previous to today, their offense is anemic, the word I'm looking for. Like, they're so bad. Like, they just couldn't score any points. Now, sure, you're right. They could just be on track. Last week, I think, was actually half decent, but the first 2 weeks were horrible.
Were terrible.
I mean, I think it's impressive the Falcons don't seem to have the Super Bowl hangover that most losers of the Super Bowl have had.
Especially losing the
everyone wants to always
loss.
act like the Saints are just good. I don't think Sean Payton's the great as a coach as everyone acts like, and I think Drew
it's such
Brees.
a waste with Adrian Peterson.
But the thing is, no one else wanted to sign him
No,
to be a star. So like, he can't be that mad. He's not the star of the offense. I mean, he can be because he is, but
there's no way he thought he was going to come there and get 30 touches again.
now my favorite team's the Jaguars, and I would have loved for him to go to Jacksonville to mentor Leonard Fournette because they have similar running styles or like hard-nosed runners and all that. But he didn't want that.
No.
He wants to be the featured part. But
I just don't see how going to the Saints you think you're going to be the featured with. You still have Drew Brees as a quarterback.
Well, and one thing, so I listen to all the Ringer podcasts for the most part, and they have Mike Lombardi on one of their NFL shows. It's something he brought up that has stuck with me, is if Adrian Peterson's on the field currently in the way the Saints run, you know they're running the ball. Because they're not going to bring him out there to pass the ball. So just the fact that every time he's on the field, the defense should know what's coming.
Throw 8 man in the box and...
I just don't see him having a good season. So, I mean, it's kind of... him sharing a role in the backfield I don't think it's going to work for his game.
No, I think this is going to be a one and done season with the Saints. I mean, the first week told us that. I mean, how many memes was there of him staring down Sean Payton?
Right.
I just don't think that's a good fit. I do think the Falcons. I
thought the Buccaneers were going to be good, and maybe they will. I mean, it's still early, but last week they kind of got destroyed. So
they did, and I mean, I do think it may be a little overreaction with the Panthers, but I mean, you're right with the Falcons. As long as Julio Jones stays healthy, now he left the game today with a hip injury. So I mean, and if that's a serious injury, that's a huge blow,
right?
Because Mohamed Sanu is only as good as Julio Jones being on the field.
Right, I agree. And Julio Jones, he's a weird looking dude.
He is,
but he's cool.
He is.
He's really good.
He's been hella good for.
I mean, I would say he's the most underrated superstar. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows how talented he is, but no one really brings him up. It doesn't seem like too much. Like, everyone acts like him and Odell are the same. Mm-hmm. I would take Julio Jones over Odell Beckham Jr.
any day.
Every day. No. Right. There's just not even
unless you're doing a competition or maybe who gets the craziest one-handed catch. I would maybe go with Odell, but Julio Jones all the way. And my thing is with Julio, I've had him on quite of my fantasy league teams. He does great. But postseason, he has fallen off. He came up big last year in the postseason, which is a big reason why they got there. But the 2 seasons before that when they made it to the playoffs and he had 1 catch.
Right. I see. All right, so NFC West. I think this one, it's hard not to say the Rams because everyone else has a losing record currently, which I think the Seahawks and Cardinals are both playing currently. So, who knows what'll happen there. I think the Rams have definitely shocked everyone.
When they beat the Cowboys today, I think.
Right. Now, it's hard to choose against the Seahawks because of their defense. I personally hate everyone on their offense. I've never liked Russell Wilson. I know a lot of people like him and whatever. I'm sure he's talented, but he doesn't let him play future in the locker room because he's dating future. Like, I just think all that stuff's so stupid. And I always hated Pete Carroll from the USC days.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. So I don't like rooting for them, but I love Richard Sherman because I like how outspoken he is.
He is very. I mean, until they get an offensive line, they are not going to.
And the Cardinals just fell apart this year. I mean, everyone knew there was a date on Larry Fitzgerald and Carson Palmer, and I
think they passed it last year.
Right. And then the NFC East, which, all right, coming into the season, everyone said that it's going to be the toughest, most competitive division. All 4 of these teams are great. And yet, to me, when I watch them, all 4 of them look bad. The Eagles look pretty good, but all the rest just look bad.
I don't trust Kirk Cousins at all. I don't trust the Redskins. And then obviously the Giants they suck a big one.
So real quick, because we mentioned earlier you're native and you just use the term Redskins, we'll probably have a whole topic in the future, but what is your 1 sentence opinion on all of it?
I don't give a shit.
All right, so we'll go to the AFC as well. AFC East, who do you like?
Okay, so if you were to ask me before the season, I cannot pick against the Patriots. I just
They've
don't
won, 12 seasons in a row or something?
Right. I cannot pick against them.
I still can't.
And that's all I'll say. I don't know if I still can, even with the Bills at 3-1.
That's 1 game. Patriots are 2-2.
Still going to pick Gronkowski and Tom Brady.
See, to me, it comes to Bill Belichick.
For sure.
I mean, he's the Sith Lord or whatever. So, now, I don't think they'll win the Super Bowl because I just don't think their defense is good enough.
Agree. I don't think so at all.
But then again, if anyone could pull it off.
It's Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a god almost in coaching.
Right. All right, so AFC West. I think it'd be hard not to say the Chiefs.
I was going to say, I mean, the guy you got for fantasy and Kareem Hunt, I mean, he is a breakout star.
Well, there's that, but also it was like Alex Smith for 2 years is listening to people be like, game manager.
That's all he's ever been.
He was like, fuck you, I'm going to show you in week 1. He goes for like
that was like his 6th game of his career with 300-plus yards.
It was like the only time he threw that many touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect him to go on
after that, mentions he doesn't even expect to be in Kansas City next year. Which, I mean, I understand they drafted another quarterback, they're waiting the wings or whatever. If he played like he has been, I think the Chiefs would be dumb to let him go unless they just know Mahomes
for sure
can step up.
And shout out to one of my friends, Jake Walker. He met Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith out there in Kansas City.
Oh, so they're eating together. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so I mean, at least they're friendly.
Now, I would say I think the AFC West is the best division. I would probably put them over the NFC North. I think even the Chargers, even though they're 0-3, they could have won the first 2 games for sure. And I think I've just always liked Phillip Rivers ever since he the whole Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers thing in the draft year made me just like him for whatever reason. The Raiders are good.
I mean, Broncos, anyone who's got beast mode, I'm going to have to go for.
The Broncos are somehow good, even though everyone was like...
With Trevor Siemian?
Right.
No one thought he was going to be legit.
So I'm sure it's not a hot takes in the AFC West the best, but I think that'll be the most interesting one. AFC North, which is normally a pretty good thing. The Steelers are winning. I still like the Ravens over the Steelers because the Steelers have not looked like the Steelers up until maybe today. I think they had a good game.
Today. Now, I'll have to pull up some stats, but the last I had seen was the Steelers had held the Ravens. It was under a touchdown the last time I had seen the stats. I'm pulling them up now to see what they are. But the Bengals, I think they're just as bad as the Browns.
I agree.
They had, 2 weeks or 3 weeks without a touchdown?
Well, and Joe Mixon, they just kind of have to go all in on Joe Mixon at running back, and they should probably just... I mean, they're paying Andy Dalton, so I guess you let him play or whatever, but he doesn't look good.
I mean, you have A.J. Green. There's no reason you shouldn't get at least 1 touchdown a game.
Agreed.
And they did. Pittsburgh held Baltimore to... It was 9 points today. So still, no touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, and they got destroyed by Jacksonville last week in London. Like, destroyed.
Bad.
So maybe the Ravens aren't good, but... So I guess the Steelers are the favorite. It's just they haven't looked great yet.
No,
so
but
I don't
I mean,
know if they're like Super Bowl contenders.
But I mean,
not.
you still have Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. You have to give them a fighting chance to win that division in general.
Very true. All right, and then the AFC South, which has been the worst for like 5 years. That's where my team's at with Jacksonville, and they're currently tied for first with Texans and Titans at 2-2. I would love to say I have all this faith that Jacksonville is going to do awesome. I would love to see them win 2 games in a row before I ever make a claim that they're good. I think their defense is good. They sign a lot of guys every year to their defense. Calais Campbell's went off this year. Miles Jack, Telvin Smith. Their defense is legit. I love Jalen Ramsey. I know this is like super un-PC. I just wish he would come out. Right? Because everyone wants to talk about Michael Sam being the first openly gay NFL player and all that.
Didn't even play it down in the regular season.
Jalen Ramsey is legit a stud. Now, he may not be a homosexual. I don't really care either way. But when you see him give interviews in the locker room and stuff, he just has that flamboyancy to him that you're like, if he said he was, it wouldn't surprise me. And I think the fact he is so good, it would do a lot for that cause if he was.
Agreed.
So, I don't know. I don't know if anyone knows. I've done no research. I just know when the first time we saw him on some little video online of him talking shit, and I was like, oh, I never heard him talk before. And that was kind of my first thought on him. The Texans fucking went off today.
Deshaun Watson, bro.
So I guess they're my pick if I had to choose to win that division. I didn't think Deshaun Watson was that good. He looked all stiff and stuff, but apparently today he shook all that. And
he goes off and, I mean, you still have a legit defense. Even though your middle linebacker is suspended for, 10 games now for PEDs with Brian Cushing. I think it's 10 games because it's his second time.
You notice how no one cares if NFL players take PEDs?
No one gives
Not
a
like
shit.
the other sports.
But if it's baseball, God forbid, put an asterisk beside their name. Don't let them in the Hall of Fame or anything.
Right, and they just kind of sit there and swing it back. Like football players, if PEDs affect any sport more,
It's going to be football.
football.
I mean, let's talk. It's a middle linebacker here.
Yeah, like his
And Brian
job is to
Cushing
hit
isn't
people
small.
as hard as he can. I mean, I think he took him because he's been injured so much, probably recovery things. But either way, it's just weird that no one cares if you take PEDs in football.
I'm just saying, get on whatever diet J.J. Watt's on and you're fine.
And the Colts, I just really need T.Y. Hilton to step it up with their shitty offense without Andrew Luck because I have him on fantasy. And so that would be really important to me.
Until they get Andrew Luck, and even with Andrew Luck, I don't know if they're even going to win 6 games this year.
Well,
because, I mean, do you bring Andrew Luck back if he's able to come back week 6?
Well, I think the best bet for them is they don't bring him back. They get a better draft pick.
Yep.
And then they try to trade that for more because they don't need one of these top quarterbacks that everyone's freaking out about in this next draft because they have Andrew Luck. So I think that should be their goal, but who knows
They may
what these
say
NFL players or NFL teams' goals are.
no one ever knows. You think you understand who they're going to pick, and then they don't.
All right, so talked about basically an overview of just football in general. I would love to not talk about it every week because I just, for whatever reason, I don't like the NFL as much as I used to.
I mean, I paid $250 in 6 months for this NFL Sunday ticket. I'm only doing it to watch the Lions.
Right.
I
don't like, so growing up in the small Oklahoma town, played football, you played football, you just love football. I would say in the last 5 years, my interest has just gone down every year. And I'm not going to be like, Ray Rice hit a woman, so I don't care anymore. But that's part, I mean, the fact that all of their off-season news that's interesting is like criminal acts.
agree.
Or talking about brain injuries or, I mean, I'm all for people kneeling for the flag, doesn't bother me at all. But like the fact that has to be what brings it up. Whereas when you look like the NBA, and it's just like every week there's a new NBA story that's interesting. So you're like, oh, I actually care about this. Like football just doesn't have that year-round pull anymore.
They
and
don't.
even whenever it starts, everyone just like, oh, every offensive line's bad because they don't have their PTAs like they use. Like everything's in a negative light. And so I just don't care as much.
I can see that.
Like I can just go on my ESPN Fantasy app, watch a live stream of not even the game, of a little fucking cartoon football field. And it's like, Leonard Fournette ran for 4 yards. I'm like, I understand what happened there. I don't even need to watch it.
Exactly.
It's very strange. Like, I would never choose to watch a basketball game on a graph of a basketball court. I would be like, oh, I got to watch it.
Yep.
Whereas with football, I just don't have the desire like I once did.
I mean, I could see that. And I mean, I am getting tired of these people getting upset about the protests because, for one, it's all anyone wants to talk about.
Right. Well, it's like, it's not like the people aren't playing. And like before, and I would have to look into this. I have a feeling before 9/11, the football players weren't even on the field for the national anthem.
It was 2009.
2000. So even
2009 and before, they were in the locker room.
Because I was like, I just never remember seeing that.
And I'll have to do some more, but I know somebody, it was an article, I'll have to find it, but I don't remember, maybe it was the DOD or maybe it was just the military had paid for people to make it a big spectacle.
Right. I remember that story whenever it was the military were paying the NFL to run ads and to bring out the flag, and because it was trying to boost their recruiting through the NFL, basically.
And again, I'm tired of people getting so upset about this kneeling thing and saying it's against the troops. I mean, I'm not a military person or a veteran at all, and I am thankful and grateful to the people that do. I mean, my dad was, my grandfather was. They do things that I could not do, but for people to act like this is disrespecting the military in any way is absurd to me. I mean, with the Colin Kaepernick, the reason, because if we all remember, when he first was protesting, he was sitting on the bench. He did not kneel first. He first just sat down on the bench.
Like, I don't give a fuck.
I'm just going to sit here and chill out.
Right.
So there was actually a guy, he's a U.S. Army veteran, Nate Boyer, talked to Colin Kaepernick after maybe it was 2 or 3 games that he was sitting on the bench, and talked to him why he was protesting. It was against, the police issues that we've had against minorities. And he told them about kneeling. And the reason that Colin Kaepernick actually kneels now is because whenever they go to hand the flag, whenever somebody has passed away, that Army person is taking a knee and handing the flag over. And that's what it's supposed to be representing, is that respect for the military by taking a knee. And it blows my mind that people are saying that this is in disrespect to the military. And again, I would love for 99% of these people that are burning jerseys, I just want to see the video of them standing up during the national anthem when they're watching it on TV and sitting their fat asses on the couches and getting mad that other people are doing the same thing.
Right, like around living rooms, are people standing and with their hand over their heart watching it?
No, they're not.
Well, was it Aaron Rodgers that put out that tweet this last week? That's like, I would hate how people treat these cameramen for kneeling during the pledge or the national anthem.
And it just blows my mind that that's how people are when there was a veteran that told him to do this. This is the best way to show, and he okayed him to do this. It came out in an article. You can look it up at Snopes.com regarding a U.S. veteran influencing Colin Kaepernick taking a knee to protest police brutality.
And I think that's the big thing is it was about cops killing black people or anyone really. I mean, police brutality, I guess is what they're calling it, whatever. So that's what the point is. The point has never been at all about against the military, against the U.S.
Nothing.
And people just kind of miss that point.
Now, I do think that half of the players now that are kneeling are doing it in protest to Trump.
Well, he called them all assholes.
And son of a bitches.
Right.
I mean...
That's what it was. Yeah.
And then I seen where it's illegal for anyone in government office to try to persuade someone to fire regarding the Pledge of Allegiance.
At the end of the day, his whole statement is, and this is why I would take issue with it, is he's trying to take away free speech. Every attorney in the U.S. agrees that kneeling is part of free speech.
Yes.
And now that Trump's telling you can't, so he's trying to literally take away free speech. He's telling people they need to fire people that act a certain way. I just don't think that's where the president should have any authority.
No, but I mean, let's be honest. This president is nowhere near what we need or how he's going to be more divisive of this country than anything else.
Right. All right. So since we're getting close to our hour that our goal was, I think we should end on a more lighthearted question. So I have a random question for you.
Yeah.
How many 10-year-old yous would it take to beat you up? in a fight to the death. So here's an idea.
Okay.
There's you now. You're 28.
28.
So you at 10 years old, how many of them would it take that you just couldn't beat the shit out of all of them? Because right, if it's just one 10-year-old you,
I'm sorry, I'm knocking his ass out.
you're right. One punch, throw him against the wall,
That's
whatever.
done.
He's done. So like, how many would it take? And we can do like, I even say it could be infinite if it was one at a time. I mean, I guess eventually you would tire out.
I would just tire out.
But it would go a pretty long time. But if they were all to attack you at once, how many do you think it would take until you could not take them?
I think because see, at 10 years old, I was still in martial arts. I was still wrestling at this time. I think if I had double digits, so 10 or more, I think they could whip my ass.
Yeah, 10 was my first go-to answer. Maybe less, because I was a fat kid. So they could, like, sit on me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little out of shape now for sure. So,
But I've never been aggressive. So I don't know if the 10-year-old me has that killer instinct.
for sure, I mean, maybe 2 years later, because that's whenever I had some shit happen. That may be the time that I would go a little nuts. But I think at 10 of them could kick my little ass. That's for sure.
All right. Well, that's all we have, and I'll let you do some outro. We're winging it.
So we're going to wing it. All right. So we're going to end this podcast. It's the Powwow with Mo. It's an Indian and a white guy. And we're heading out and hitting on the peace pipe. Peace out.